Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. I wanted to today talk about Starfield starship base that could potentially be coming to the game. Oh, by the way, make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. We've had leaks around this and also official releases about this for 4 years now. We initially had some information about this, talking about how, people were spotting people on this starship base and potentially it could be the home for you and your companions. I know in past Fallout games like Fallout Shelter and Fallout 4, there have been settlement systems in the game, which stand to reason that they may have some utility here as well. So we're thinking that potentially it could be that. There's a lot of different things that they could be doing with this. We know that Todd wants to go down the route of being more hardcore in terms of RPG mechanics. So we're thinking potentially it could be that, you say you want to be a scientist or you want to be a soldier or you want to be one of these other, engineer or whatever classes, and then you use this space station as a way to research things into that area. It's potentially also a way to travel between different stars and potentially a different way to explore. It could also be used as a weapon to, if say you want to shoot someone who's on the ground with this orbital space station, if it's got a clear line of sight, potentially that could be something that could happen as well, which would be a fun mechanic. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you are. Todd did say that there's 2 step out moments in Starfield. I'm wondering if one of the first ones is onto the star station and exploring the star station, and potentially the next big step out moment is stepping onto your fast world after you've travelled to it. Now I know that from these pictures it doesn't look very big, but based on the scale that we think that it's at, we think that, a person would only be a few pixels big, and this is in fact a very big ship. We think that again, because of the lack of weaponry on this ship, that it most likely does have some kind of scientific or, small scale tourism kind of use, and that's probably the main use, potentially for biologists, genealogists, people interested in planets, physics, things like that as well, potentially could be the use of this ship in terms of lore. For us though, it probably would again feature more as something for us to use as a home base. It could also potentially be that these are low orbit spacecrafts, because there was a mention of the name of this space station being LO001 or something. So it could be that, like in Fallout where you have different vaults, in this you have different ships to explore that potentially could have, hostile inhabitants sometimes, friendly inhabitants, and that's one of the main mechanics of Starfield in this game. We do know that you're going to travel on land, we know that there's going to be abundance of alien wildlife and things like that. We just do not know how much of it is going to be. Is it going to be a lot of, traveling in space and visiting other ships, or is it going to be mostly on worlds? So far from what they've hyped, it's mainly actually been worlds. They've released 3 travelable location zones in this game already, so we know that that is something that they're going to be relying on. But we've also heard that there's at least a few other ship designs that have been leaked out in the last year, so we do know that at least to an extent there's going to be some weapons and combat capabilities on these other ships. Maybe it's other ships that you could transfer to. Maybe it's that this space station is the hub, and then you can, dock to it with your spaceship. That potentially could be something that we could see as well. This could also be a modular ship in which you can use to, grow as you develop through the game. So maybe you add in a aeronautics wing, and then maybe you add in a weaponry wing, and you add in a science wing, and you again expand it out like that until you get the kind of ship that you want based on your interests in the game. And on different playthroughs you could level different things, maybe that could outcome things in different ways and allow for some replayability. The reason I say that is because it says north, south, east and west on the ship. And so we do know that potentially there's going to, say for example in the east wing, that could be where you sleep. In the west wing that could be cooking, in the south wing that could be driving and piloting, and then in the other wing it could be more science based. And so maybe, just like Fallout 76, you can invest into these different areas and expand the ship. Interestingly enough, in the space station that we have on Earth, for those that don't know, it's actually modular and they can add on extra modules if they want, and it slowly has been built up through the years. And potentially, again, it would actually make sense logically that would be a feature for Starfield as well, if they wanted to go down the kind of space station route. There's some things that we're not entirely sure on yet. For example, how do you travel between these different worlds? Is it going to be warp? Is it going to be some kind of new element which you can use to instantly wormhole between different locations? And so that travel mechanic, or is it just, waiting time, and every time you travel in time, you spend 10 years? That could potentially be what happens as well, although I doubt that one, just because technically if you travel every 10 years, you could only travel 3 times, and it would be kind of like a linear forced experience for if they did go that route. Now, there's nothing to be said that the Fallout world and the Fallout ecosystem doesn't in some way connect to Starfield in terms of lore, and that could potentially be the case. It does seem a bit of a stretch that in 300 years they could go from one thing to another, but at the same time there's also been some interesting art by some guy called Mark Phillips, and it seems extremely similar to the Fallout 76 ship that was crash landed. We do also know that the devs did confirm that there's going to be aliens in some way. We do also know that there's going to be synthetics in some way. It could stand to reason, hypothetically, that this could be a habitat for one of those people as well. So it's not necessarily that when they say aliens that they mean intelligent life. It doesn't mean that they mean, as smart as us aliens. It could just be, local wildlife. We do not know what the enemies in this game are going to be, but it probably would be in a sci-fi universe. Historically, traditionally, you would have intelligent alien races, and potentially this ship could also be something from that kind of area. Now, if you listen closely as well, in the Starfield trailer for this, when they released this picture, it mentioned that you sail. And so what they're thinking is that these are going to be satellite sails, and that again in the 2021 trailer they mentioned that there was a graviton loop field array, and so that could be what we're kind of seeing from the ship, something like that, so that they can kind of logically make it make sense that you can instantly travel, a light year away, 5 light years away. Now, someone else also said, which again, you have to take everything with a grain of salt in this community, but someone did say that it's going to be an alien artifact that you have to recover, and you need to go to different worlds in order to, recover the parts for the ship in order to be able to operate it and learn more about the creators or architects of the universe. Now, do I believe that? Not potentially, but it could be a fun way to think about this, and we really just not know yet. Now, knowing Bethesda as well, there probably will be some creepy references to some locations with some Lovecraftian references, so I'm looking forward to see that. Maybe that's something here as well. By the way, if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed because it helps a bunch. I'm releasing Starfield content very regularly, so keep up to date by subscribing. It helps an immense amount. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day. GG, I'm out. Subscribe.